pounds. The biggest cows, biggest group of cows in that herd weighed almost 1,700 pounds. That's a big cow. As far as I'm concerned, that's a big cow. Percent of cow weight weaned. Now this is something I think all of us know. Smaller cows can wean a higher percent than bigger cows. That's part of what makes a smaller cow more efficient. The 1,242 pound cows were weaning almost 50% of their own weight. The 1,700 pound cows couldn't wean 34% of their own weight. Now let's look, and for this particular year, let's look at weaning weight. Average weaning weights in those groups. The 1,200 pound cows were weaning 617 pound calves. Now watch my red dot as the cow size increases. What's happening to the weaning weight? Weaning weights got smaller. Now I'm not going to say that this is going to happen every year, but it's happening more years than we thought it would. What happened that year to make that happen? Drought. When times get tough, this cow here is not even taking care of herself. How's she going to raise a calf? Those cows will dry up, and that calf will do what he does on his own. These cows here are probably open too. A high percentage of them are. So we've been selecting for bigger weaning weights, and we ended up getting bigger cows, and now look what's happened to our weaning weights. Sometimes it backfires on us. So what do? We put out the creep feeders. That's what some of you are doing.
Burn some cactus.
Burn some cactus. Let's get back to where we started here. What do I need to do to match cow size and type the resources on my ranch? Number one, eventually I must require my cows to live within their means, meaning they must survive on what my ranch produces, with no inputs if possible. Now I can't do that all at once, and we've got to be very cautious about this. You know, I guess I have this fear that people hear me talk about this and say, you know, I'm going to go home and do just what he's talking about. It'll take 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 years to do this. You just don't want to go home and jerk everything away from that set of cows. Number two, we need to produce or purchase cattle that fit our environment. If I continue to use the wrong type of bull, how many years will it take me to produce the right type of cow?
Never happened.
Never going to happen? Are you laughing at this, Andy? Why is that funny?
Because it's never going to happen.
Never going to happen. But you know what? I've come to the conclusion that that's what about 95% of cow-calf producers are trying to do. And some of them are in this room. I talked to cow-calf producers from Canada to Alabama, from the East Coast to the West Coast. And most of them will agree. Here's what we want for, this would be my ideal cow. I want an efficient 1,100 pound cow that can wean somewhere around 50% of her own weight for many years, like Greg's cows, without being pampered. An efficient 1,100 pound cow can wean 50% of her own weight for many years without being pampered. But when you ask them about the bulls they've been using, you will usually find out that they've been using bulls that were produced by 1,400 to 2,000 pound cows that have to be pampered. How's that going to work? Is that going to work? But that's what we keep trying to do. And then 5 years later we say, well, man, how did my cows get so big? You know, what's going on here? We've got to use the right type of bulls to produce the right type of cows. I strongly suggest that, you know, when you consider a bull to buy, go look at the cow herd that produced that bull. If that's the type of cows that you want, great. If you don't really want 1,600 pound cows that have to be fed, maybe you shouldn't buy a bull out of one of those cows. Most important is we need to call or get rid of all animals that do not fit our environment. We're never going to make any headway if we don't get rid of the animals that don't fit. Not all cows are created equal. Some are much more efficient, much more profitable than others. Let's assume that we have a cow herd out here in this parking lot. Not a big cow herd, maybe 50 head of cows. And it could be your cows, it could be my cows. It doesn't matter whose cows they are, as long as they're not graves. What are we going to look for when we walk through these cows? I want you to walk through them with me after this meeting, and I want you to tell me what we're going to look for to find the most efficient and profitable cows. Fat. Old age. Old age is the correct answer. That's usually not where we start, though. We want to look for a cow that's fat, good condition, not too big. Probably just as important is we need to look for a cow that's got a calf on her and a calf in her. I mean, we could have a fat cow that hasn't raised a calf for 2 years and we're not making much money on her either. But the point I was trying to make here, and I'm not able to do it very well, is instead of looking for the most efficient, most profitable cow, we need to be looking for the least efficient, least profitable. Those aren't hard to find. Don't worry about the top end, worry about the bottom end and get rid of it. If I keep getting rid of the bottom end, what do I have left? They just keep getting better and better, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit about our program, our cows. I've been at this for 25 years, and this has kind of been the driving force behind my program. Matching cow size and type to the resources on my ranch. I didn't know 25 years ago what she was going to look like. I've got a pretty good idea now. When I was able to buy some cows and lease some land, got back, I've been away from any part of agriculture for the most part for about 15 years. And my first thought was, I've got to figure out how to do this. I don't remember how to do the calculations to balance the ration, so blah, blah, blah. And then I was thought, I'm going to show all my neighbors how you make money in this business. It didn't take very long for me to change my goal. We were feeding hay, we were feeding protein supplement, we were selecting for more and more growth, more and more milk, blah, 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 and we were losing money. As I said earlier, we've not fed hay to our cows for a long time except in extreme conditions. We've never fed grain to our cows. I don't know why anyone would feed grain to a cow or a bull. The only thing you should feed grain to is something you're going to eat. 10 years ago, we stopped feeding protein supplement to our cows. At that point, that was when we moved from April calving to May calving. Now, you may think in eastern Colorado, April calving is okay. April calving is not okay in eastern Colorado. We don't have any baby deer, elk, or antelope in April. So we shouldn't be calving in April. When I moved from April 10th to May 10th, we took the protein away and got away with it. So the only two inputs, we kind of accomplished what we wanted to here. The only two inputs that we now have is we vaccinate calves at weaning. And I'm reluctant to do that. The reason we vaccinate calves at weaning is because we bring in bull calves from about 24 different ranches. And we commingle them. And again, I don't have enough guts to bring them in from that many different places, mix them up without all of them having the same vaccination. So we vaccinate calves at weaning. We provide a salt and mineral mixture year-round. That's fairly close to no input, isn't it? No wormers, no pesticides, all of these crutches we just started taking away. We don't vaccinate cows. Let me ask you this question. Which is better, a 90% pregnancy rate or 98? 90. 90? Who said 90? Why would you say 90? Okay, good answer. The reason he thinks 90 is better is because it's costing too much to get to 98. And that's absolutely right. If it costs the same, I would pick 98, but it doesn't. I can remember, some of you heard me speak at Lake of the Ozarks many years ago, maybe 8 years ago, and I remember somebody coming up to me and saying, I agree with everything you said except for this. And he said, I get 100% of my cows bred every year. And I said, it's costing you too much to do that. I don't know what optimum is in Missouri. I know what optimum in most of the more western states is going to be somewhere around 94, 95%. That's optimum. If you get more than that, it's costing you too much. If you get less than that, you might want to reconsider something. I suspect that in Missouri, it's closer to 90% than it is 94%. A little tougher environment.
About on your replacement heifers, what is your goal for a pregnancy rate?
The first year or the second year?
Golden heifers, yearly.
First year, we have a hard time not getting 90% plus. The second year, we have a hard time getting 80%. It's that second year, they're raising their first calf, and we treat them just like cows. I mean, those heifers never get anything different than the cows. Then that's a tough year for them. You know, it's not uncommon to only get 60%. But that factors in here. Once a cow has been on our place for 4 or 5 years, let's say 5 years, she's going to stay there for a long time. She's passed all the hard tests, and it's easy from that point on. Several years ago, I put out these newsletters like I told you, and I like to think things through, and I like to write down my goals, my philosophies, and I like to share them, because by the time I go through that process, by the time I'm ready to share it with you, I'm comfortable with what I'm saying. And that's a good exercise for everybody to do. I mean, whether you show it to anybody or not, you should write down some of your philosophies, your goals. But I remember this is about 15 years ago. My dad was still alive at the time, and I listed 10 philosophies behind our bulls. And one of those philosophies said we want no more than 90% of our cows bred. Yes, sir?
Would you cull 10%, that 10% out every year?
If they're open. Now, my dad was I've never worked with Dad. I've never worked for Dad. My dad was born and raised in Denver and wanted to be a cowboy, and he ended up having a small herd of Hereford cows, commercial cows. But he never did have anything big enough that any of us boys could come back to. So, you know, I never worked with Dad, but I always respected his opinion and his thoughts. And if you think I'm opinionated, you should have met my dad. He was very blunt. The next time he saw me, I said, we only want 90% of our cows to get bred. He said, Kit, that's the dumbest thing you've ever come up with yet. And the reason was because I didn't explain myself. Why would I only want 90%?
10% call.
I want 10% call because I'm trying to improve my genetics. I want to take out at least 10% because of this. I'm going to take out cows with bad udders, bad disposition, bad feet and legs. After that, they have to get bred, and I don't want all of them to get bred, because then it's hard for me to improve my genetics. Is anybody a teacher? Are you teaching now? What do you teach?
Biology.
Biology, high school. Average class has that how many kids? 25 kids, and what grade are they? What? Sophomores, juniors?
Sophomores and juniors.
Sophomores and juniors, 25 kids. Are all 25 of these kids brilliant? No?
No.
Are all 25 of them hard workers?
Not a chance.
Not a chance. If you gave a biology test and all 25 of those kids aced that test, what would you assume?
Bad test. Or somebody cheated.
Somebody cheated. Or the test was too easy. Likewise, if 98% of my cows or your cows get bred, what can you assume? The test was too easy. We didn't gain anything. They might have cheated. If I'm going to improve my genetics to where I can help you improve your genetics, I've got to be tougher on my cows than you are on yours. Kind of a novel thought, isn't it? A seed stock producer that's tougher on his cows than you are on yours. But that's what we're trying to do here. Okay, yes.
Suppose you had a 98%, what do you do about that?
Suppose we have a 98%, what do we do about it? You know, some years it may be that good. I don't know if I've ever got a 98%, but it's easy to get a 96 or 97 on some years. And it's easy to get only 80% on some years. So, you know, there isn't too much you can't